What's up, fellow internet dwellers? Right here we have my new M4 MacBook Pro, 16 inches. Let's get right into the first impressions as well as the unboxing. All right, now let's get into unwrapping the actual MacBook Pro itself. What is this, like parchment paper? Wow, that actually looks really good. I thought the black would be a lot blacker, darker. This is actually closer to space gray than I thought it would be, which I prefer. My actual space gray 16-inch MacBook Pro looks like this, and when side by side, space black looks a whole lot darker. I was worried about space black originally because I'm an oily person, I'm not sure if you can tell, and I was already planning that I would get my device oily within day one, but it looks like this space black, this model, isn't gonna get as oily as the space black Midnight that they launched a few years ago. And this space black is definitely the way to go. It looks great. Now, the interesting thing about this year's lineup of M4 MacBook Pros is that Apple specifically is marketing to people like me and maybe people like you, people with the M1 chip or the Intel chips. I think all of their benchmarks have the M1 Pro going up against the M1, which I thought was interesting that they didn't rank it against the M2 or the M3. I think that subtle marketing is Apple's way of saying that if you have a M1 Pro MacBook Pro or anything before it, like the Intel chip MacBook Pros, that now is probably the best time to upgrade to get the best bang for your buck. But if you have an M2 or an M3, you can probably sit this one out as far as upgrades because you're not gonna see insane performance boosts. Just my initial thought. Now, outside of the color, there's not much visible difference between my 2020 M1 MacBook Pro and the 2024 M4 MacBook Pro. We're still getting an HDMI port, a Thunderbolt cable, and an SD card. I'm always plugging in SD cards to this slot right here. And on this side, you get MagSafe, two USB-C ports that support Thunderbolt 5, and then a headphone jack. So essentially the same exact ports that you have on the M1 MacBook Pro, I believe all the way up to the M3, outside of the Thunderbolt 5 support. All right, now let's crack this puppy open and see what it looks like on the inside. Wow. I'm assuming wow, I haven't actually seen it for myself. Oh no, it's actually wow. Ooh. Oh gosh, the screen. So I'm not sure if my old screen was just super smudged up into existence after 4 years of usage, but this screen looks amazing. And this year, these screens support up to 1000 nits of brightness as opposed to my M1 that supported 500 nits of brightness. And this screen also supports up to 1600 nits of HDR. All right, let's talk specs on my model. You can pick between two sizes. One is 14-inch and the second is 16-inch. I went with the 16-inch because I just like the screen real estate. As a software developer and as a person who edits a lot of videos, I like that extra screen real estate. Now, the downside about the 16-inch is that it's not as portable. Obviously, on flights, you can get no work done because it's almost impossible to open this bad boy unless you're in first class. And it is just a slight bit heavier than the 14-inch model. But the pros of the bigger screen and the longer battery life greatly outweigh those little cons. I'm a base model guy through and through. The MacBook that I just had up here, that was the base model M1 MacBook Pro, and it got me through 4 years of video editing and coding just fine. It's only this last year where the M1 MacBook Pro started to slow down slightly with 4K video editing. So there's no doubt in my mind that this M4 MacBook Pro is gonna last me another 4 to 5 years easily. Now, historically, the base model MacBook Pros come with 16 gigabytes of unified memory, which is basically RAM. Now, this year, as a base model enthusiast, I'm actually more excited than any other year because they upped the baseline unified memory from 16 gigabytes, which I have been using over the last 4 years without any issue, up to 24 gigabytes of unified memory, which is essentially RAM, which I think is more than enough for 98% of people who are professionals using a MacBook Pro. Now, in the announcement that Apple just made, they're saying that this guy right here, this M4, is gonna be able to perform at least 3 times better than the M1 MacBook Pros. Now, in true base model fashion, I also opted for the lowest SSD available, which is 512 gigabytes. And as a content creator, that typically isn't a problem. I've been creating a lot of content over the last few years, and I have yet to fill up this 512 gigabytes of SSD. And that's mainly because most content creators or people who are doing projects work off one of these puppies. This is an external SSD. It's 2 terabytes. I believe it's like $180. And I fill these up about once every 10 to 11 months. And I much rather work off these SSDs where I can kind of just take it and go, rather than have it baked into a system that I may or may not use over the next 4 years. Now, I do love Apple, but they charge a ridiculous premium for adding SSD to your system. And the system that you pick, it's locked with that. So if you choose 512, that's what you're stuck with. If you choose a terabyte, that's what you're stuck with. But storing your big projects and working off an internal SSD with fast read and write times is, I think, the way to go because you get a bit more flexibility and modularity in your systems. Now, the days of everyone being on Zoom 24/7 are behind us, thankfully, but let me just tell you, the webcam on the new M4 MacBook Pros looks a ton better than the 2020 models. Let me show you what I mean. So this is the 2020 M1 MacBook Pro webcam, and it looks good, but it's a bit grainy. But when you head over here to the M4 MacBook Pro, first of all, you get 12 megapixels, which is amazing. The skin quality just looks so much smoother, so much better. And then you get center stage. So if I come all the way over here, the camera's gonna follow me over here. And if I go all the way over here, the camera's gonna follow me over here. Not sure how helpful that is, if I will actually use that, because I'm probably hiding some stuff off screen that I don't want shown, but it's still so much better looking than what it looks like on the 2020 M1 MacBook Pro. Ugh. Now, I mentioned that the screens on the M4 and SDR go up to 1000 nits, whereas the machine I've been rocking with only go up to 500 nits. Let's see if I can actually tell a difference. Gotta turn off the lights. M1, M4. Yeah, I can't really tell. All right, now first impressions from the M1 to the M4 as far as screen brightness. I can't really tell. I might have to head outside to really see it. It still looks like a great display, but is it that much different, doubly as bright as this guy? And I didn't see it. Now on the M4s, for an additional cost, you can also get the nano texture display that cuts down on screen glare. Like if you're a person who's working in offices that have a bunch of these artificial lights, that might be something for you. But for me, I don't really look at this screen too often. I typically plug this into an external monitor and work off that. I didn't think it was worth the extra $100 or $200. So I'll be rocking the non-nano textured OG display. Now, as I mentioned, the main reason I dropped $2,700 on a new MacBook Pro is so that I can be more efficient and productive in my normal workflows. And one of my most demanding workflows is, of course, video editing. So I pulled up an old video edit that has a lot of 4K shots, it has music and overlays, and it took a lot, and my system was running very slow when I was editing it, and it took a while to export. It's a 10-minute video where I surprised my parents with a trip to Paris, and I'm editing it off, of course, an SSD. Now I have that same project on the new M4 on the same exact SSD. So the test is going to be to export both of these projects and see which one finishes first. All right, so by the power of editing magic, the results are already in. The M4 blazed through it. It finished at 1 minute and 5 for the export. And the M1 was a lot slower at 2 minutes and 45 seconds. So just off that small, very unofficial test, my M4 is coming in at about a little under 3 times as fast as exporting as my M1, which is, we love to see that. Now for the last test, I'm so sorry I have to do this, but I never go for the space black or any of the black options because I am always worried about oil marks and grease marks. And since the video is practically over, let's just rub our faces on it. Oh, that's bad. Yeah, that's... You can definitely see the oil marks. And even just after 3 minutes of usage, the trackpad already looks incredibly oily, like a dog has been licking it for the last half hour. Even though it attracts fingerprints and oil marks a little bit more than I would like, I'm still gonna be keeping and using my M4 MacBook Pro for the foreseeable future. I most likely will be doing a 30-day check-in on what it's like to actually use this M4 in practice for video editing and software developing. So if you have any questions about the system, feel free to comment. Since you're already here, might as well subscribe. And like always, I'll see you on the next one. See ya.